Drama already at the start of the final. Charlotte Stanley spinning on the way to the starting grid on the formation lap, so they're going to have to throw another formation lap. Two other karts losing it in the bid to avoid her, and that was just the start of things for Charlotte Stanley. It's not going well for her at all as the battle is gearing up. Let's talk you through the starting grid. Hopefully she'll be able to get her position back again. Zane Quaker and Sebastian Corking on the front row. James Roberts and Oliver Sibbald will be on row 2. Then Rory Armstrong and Charlotte Stanley, should she get her position back for the start. Ollie Hipkins and Aston Brown, Logan Lauder and Braden Boyd, and then Caden Simpson will be row 6 and on his own on the starting grid. Now, you can see that Charlotte Stanley has run out of time. They're going to have to start the race with her down in position. Oh no, they're going to throw another start. There you go, false start. They're going to start again.
Yeah, going round again. Gives them a chance to get back into the formation.
Well, this is good news for Charlotte Stanley because she'll have time to get herself back into position.
Oh,
no! Oh, no! The chain's gone!
You can tell. The
engine's
revving.
No! Charlotte Stanley should have been starting this race from P6. She won't start at all.
The engine's revving, but it's going nowhere, and that's because the chain's come off.
You can hear the anguish from Charlotte Stanley as well. She knows that something is not right with the kart. Trying to fire it up. The engine's going. There's nothing wrong with the engine. It's the chain.
It's not going anywhere. That curb on the exit of the start there, it goes up into what we call the Eau Rouge of karting, turn 1 and 2, and out of the chicane, you run that right-hand curb.
Here's the marshal. Kart's not working. It's not the kart that's broken, it's the chain that's come off. What a devastating end for Charlotte Stanley.
You run that curb on the exit of the chicane, and you do risk the chain coming off. Here's the grid, Jake.
Yes, indeed. So it'll be Quaker and Corking, Roberts and Sibbald. Armstrong will be alone on row 3, then Hipkins, Brown, Lauder, Boyd and Simpson. Devastating for Charlotte Stanley. She could have been a podium in this one. Here we go. Race goes on without her. Zane Quaker into the lead as they go through the chicane for the first time and up and over towards McRae's. And now it's going to be a case of Sebastian, you've got to stay with Zane, otherwise he's going to disappear.
The forecast is rain potentially. It could come during this race. It's going to come during one of the club races that we are going to be seeing in a separate programme from this.
Nice. That was a nice move there from Armstrong on Sibbald, I just noticed. So he's made a move. And I think he's not the only one to get through on Sibbald. Sibbald's losing another place there down to 6th position. That was Hipkins, I think, getting through.
Well, Hipkins will be hoping it rains, Jake, won't he? That's for sure. Hipkins will definitely be hoping. Ron Slicks, I need it to rain.
Well, Zane Quaker definitely doesn't want rain. He's clearly the fastest man out there in the dry conditions. Here's the battle a little further back. This is 33. Logan Lauder dueling away with Aston Brown as they try and stretch away from Boyd. End of the first lap, Corking still within a second of Quaker. Then Roberts, Armstrong, Hipkins, Sibbald, Lauder, Brown, Boyd and Simpson. It doesn't quite seem right without Charlotte Stanley. There she is, watching along from the marshal post on the exit of the chicane. And she'll be bitterly, bitterly frustrated. She's driven beautifully all day today, and it doesn't quite seem fair that she's not able to make it. But unfortunately, when the chain comes off, there's nothing you can do. That's racing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing you can do. But
oh, that's Armstrong through to 3rd. Nips in on the inside of Roberts. Roberts has to bail out and tuck back in behind him. Opportunistic move there from Armstrong. Just seizes the opportunity into St John's.
Yeah, Charlotte Stanley's got to take the positives out of the weekend, Jake. I think she's driven well when she's been on track, pretty much. I know she had a spin in the second heat, but drove well in the first heat. Drove well, I think, in the third heat, albeit that she ended up down the field.
Yeah, and we've said this time and time again, you know, this isn't like football or cricket or tennis or rugby. You don't get practice matches, you don't get practice races. You've just got to go straight in and learn on the job under the microscope of the media. It's a very tough discipline, karting at this level, very tough.
There's practice days, of course, but it's not the same as racing.
It's not racing,
You learn more in racing, and the more races you do against better quality drivers. We were talking about Braden Boyd, Caden Simpson, Aston Brown earlier, and Logan Lauder. These are the drivers at the back here, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, that are the least experienced in the field. So you'd expect them to be in 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, but this is, and here they come, this is where they learn their trade, learn their craft. By racing against better drivers, you will become a better driver yourself ultimately. And here, talking about them, here they are.
Yes,
Logan Lauder on the 33, Brown on the 57.
you all have to start somewhere, don't you? I mean, I've said it to drivers time and time again. You may be disgruntled that you're not getting the results this time, but once upon a time, a young lad called George Russell raced in the FIA Karting Academy Trophy, didn't even place top 10.
Excuse me. George Russell first raced, as we see.
Oh!
Boyd going for the
They
move.
are side by side. Here we go.
Is he going to make him do a double? Is he going to do himself a brace? He's going to have to keep his foot in. He does.
Lovely
Boyd.
job.
One
Good
of the
move
moves
from
of the
Boyd.
day for Braden Boyd. Again, he's battling for that position down the field. But that's a nice piece of driving. I'll come back to George Russell, Jake.
Yep.
George Russell started in my Motors TV series.
Yep.
His mum was mechanicking for him.
There you go.
That goes back to 2007. That was the first time we saw George Russell, my championship, which is the equivalent of what you're seeing now. It's the equivalent of Logan Lauder here, because he was, when I say he was a midfield runner, he was at the back of the field.
Yep.
So these drivers here, we're talking about Lauder, Brown, Boyd and Simpson. It's like almost, this is where George Russell was in 2007. So
Yep.
let me just say this. So for all these drivers here in that little group, and those people watching, this could be the new George Russell you could be watching here.
Absolutely. There's no reason why not. There are so many phenomenal talents coming through British karting, and I do still genuinely and firmly believe that the British karting scene is one of the best for learning. Hipkins on the inside, squeezing Roberts. There was no gap at all on the way to the braking zone. He managed to create one by pure nerve and steel. Excellent work, and that's a beautiful move from Hipkins.
And straight away, look at that, pulls 5 or 6 kart lengths, and that could see him clearing off from the ones behind. Roberts will hope not, so will Sibbald.
Another new fastest lap from Zane Quaker, 52.16. Every single driver will be doing a mental rain dance in their visors. Come on, change this up.
Hold on, got a phone call, Jake.
Oh, really?
Hello, Paul. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Okay.
Bless you, bless you. Anyway, corking, 2.2 back. Armstrong in there, 2.7. Hipkins is trying to make some ground. There's the move from Armstrong. He's been building up to it in a second place. Gets the run on Armstrong. On the run on Corking, I should say, into second place. So Armstrong is there in P2. Corking now third. And these two are going to need to work together now to get that gap down to Quaker. From their point of view, Quaker isn't stretching out as fast as he was in previous heats. So they seem to have found a little bit more raw pace, but there is still a lot of a gap to make up. The gap has actually increased a little to 2.8 seconds now.
Absolutely worth pointing out as well that in karting, it's not just about the power that you have in your engine. I know there's a lot of talk about the power that Quaker's got. Somebody said, well, he's got one of those Dan Holland engines on. The person that said that obviously doesn't know what he's talking about, of course, because he drives for Mark Baines, which tells you who does his engines. It won't be Dan Holland. It'll be Jordan Baines at Force Motorsport. But it's more than just the power in the engine. There's so many things that affect the setup of the kart, particularly in cadet karting, which is effectively still what this is at the end of the day. These engines a little bit quicker than some of the other cadet karting classes, but there's so many things that can affect the setup and the performance of the kart, not least the driver, because I will say, to give Mark Baines a little shout out here, that Zane Quaker, since he's gone back with Mark, has become a different driver.
He has.
There's no doubt about it. You only have to stand at the side of the circuit and watch him in a race. He used to be having a look, thinking about it, having another look, thinking about it. Doesn't do that anymore. And that is a huge difference. So there's that.
Yeah.
Just bear that in mind.
Who's to say that Zane Quaker hasn't become a world-class driver in the making?
There's no doubt he is.
He is absolutely
a world-class driver in the making. Then again, Rory Armstrong, Sebastian Corkin, Hipkins, Roberts, Sibbald, all of those drivers with probably not perhaps exactly the same experience as Zane, because Zane, don't forget, Zane did 2 years.
He did.
In Super 1 in Mini Rock, and that sets him in good stead for what he's doing now, of course. Great deal of experience now he comes to it, and he's still quite young.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good the setup is, the driver has still got to put in the performance.
Yeah.
It all still comes back to the driver's talent. There's Caden Simpson had a difficult weekend at the office so far, Caden, but he's never really thrown in the towel. He's never thrown toys out of the pram.
Doesn't quit, and that's what I like to see.
That's it. You've just got to keep plugging away at it. You keep pushing. It might be 9th or 10th position this time, but next time it could be top 5.
Like I say, these drivers at the back of the field, we know they are the least experienced drivers in this championship, in the field. They will get better, make no mistake about it, and so long as they're enjoying it, that's the most important thing.
This is a great little trio we're watching. Hipkins, Roberts, Sibbald, as they challenge over 4th position, and this could go right down to the wire between these three. We watch Quaker going through the chicane. Armstrong and Corking are not too far away, though the gap has increased now to 3.7. But Hipkins, Roberts, Sibbald, these three could literally push each other right to the checkered flag, and that is still a way away. There's still time in this race for things to change. The final, of course, 2 minutes longer in duration than the 3 heats were, so 9 minutes plus the lap rather than 7 minutes plus the lap. So this is going to be an interesting one for these guys as they want to try and stretch out a little bit longer. You've got to look after the tyres for a little bit longer, work the engine a little bit longer, look after the brakes a bit longer, so everything comes down to how the driver manages the race. Here we go, Sibbald working with Roberts to try and close up again on Ollie Hipkins if he gets an opportunity. And they have obviously made a little bit more ground on him, but Sibbald doesn't want to get held up by Roberts. This is the trick. He's figuring out, you know what, Hipkins is disappearing. I need to go for the move, and Roberts is defending. He doesn't feel he can run that pace. So he obviously feels that he now needs to hold his 5th position.
Yeah, Sibbald will know. There he is in the black and yellow suit, easy to spot even from the drone, Oliver Sibbald. He'll know he needs to get past and get past quickly because Hipkins in front is disappearing.
So this is the opportunity Oliver Sibbald is looking for. He's just got to try and work his magic. He'll make the move most likely into the S's, I would think, into the Stewart S's on the far side of the course. They come up to Iredale's. Here's Ollie Hipkins, number 13, Mark Baines Motorsport. The Hash chassis of Roberts is next up. Then Ollie Sibbald on the 99. This is where he's going to make his move if he's going to get a chance. And that's well protected on the inside by Roberts. So Sibbald is going to have to try a nice trick or two to get by. He can't make it through at the S's. Interesting stuff.
Zane Quaker on a Sody Kart as well now, Jake, after doing UKC. He did the pooled engine Sody Kart Academy class at UKC here a couple of weeks ago. We saw him win that comfortably that day by about 3 seconds from James Roberts here on the 37. Drivers will get the last lap board as they go through the line. There is the starter holding it out. Zane Quaker's on a Sody Kart this weekend, Jake. He's been on it now for a few weeks. He's on it with the Sody Kart Academy at the Ultimate Karting Championship, and he liked it that much he's dumped his old chassis and gone with the Sody Kart. He's got a lot of history. Sody Kart Academy out in Europe is huge. Leclerc and Gasly came through that programme.
They did indeed, and now obviously in the European and World Karting Championships you've got British stars Nathan Tye and Cathal Clark getting the best out of Sody under the tutelage from time to time of the legend Baz Lammers. It's a great package, and it's definitely giving Zane Quaker the time of his life. He takes the checkered flag, patting his trusty steed as he comes across the line in fine style. Armstrong second, a great weekend for Sebastian Corking in 3rd position. I don't think 5th is done, you know. Hipkins is going to get 4th, but Sibbald is doing his best to drive around the outside of James Roberts. Is he going to get there to the line? The front fairing looked just in front. 300ths of a second. Where did he find that? That is absolutely magic on the final corner. Oh, Oliver Sibbald steals a 5th place there. Never give up, never give in. You never know what's coming. Zane Quaker takes the win. Rory Armstrong in front of Sebastian Corking. Hipkins in 4th. Oliver Sibbald steals a top 5 from James Roberts. Braden Boyd, Aston Brown, Logan Lauder and Caden Simpson. After the final, Alan caught up with our top 3 drivers.
Seb, 3rd place today. You happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that today. Good result. Podium still. Even though it's not 1st or 2nd, I'm still happy.
Okay, and just talk us through the final there.
So, me and Zane had an equal start. So, since I was on the outside, I went wide at the chicane, but I still managed to be ahead of James there. So then, later on in the race, Zane was starting to pull away, and Rory's starting to catch me due to a little bit of brake failure and grip. So then, yeah, it started to go down in power as well.
Okay.
That was basically the race.
Yeah, okay. Who do you want to thank for your podium?
I would like to thank my dad, my mum, and that's it.
In the racing today, I had a bad heat, which dropped me down to P5 in the final. but then worked my way up through, and second was all I got.
Yeah, it was a great comeback drive. You had to come from a bit behind, didn't you, to get that second place? Who do you want to thank?
I'd like to thank Hunter Motorsport and my mum and my dad.
Zane, I know your granddad in Iraq watches these races, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's going to be pleased, I would think, with you win this weekend. Another comfortable victory for you. Just talk us through the final there.
So when we started the race, I just pulled away.
And that was it pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What about the earlier heats? You had a problem in one of the heats, didn't you? What did you find out what that was all about?
Yeah, there was a little problem with it.
Do you know what it was?
My dad knows.
But he doesn't want to say. Okay. All right. Who do you want to thank for your
I
weekend?
want to thank Sodi for giving me the chassis, Force Motorsport for the powerful engine, and Mark for the coaching.
Okay. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, let's bring you up to date with the championship points then. They look like this: 26-point lead for Quaker over Armstrong, who moves into second on 300. Sebastian Corkins on 296, Sibbald on 295, and Logan Lauder on 229. It's close. It's very close. And we go to Hooton Park next, and pretty much every single driver knows this circuit really well. So it's going to be an absolute classic, I believe. Join us when we bring you more action at round 4 from Hooton Park, and we'll see you then.